One, I went and visited four of the properties that my management company manages this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So as I mentioned last week, I had reached out to them to get a list of properties, and they needed to get approval from the owners first. And it sounded like they wanted to set up formal tours
Mm-hmm.
at the property. And it was taking too long, and I realized that they had sent me a marketing package when we initially met, and there's a list of some of the properties they managed. I wasn't able to locate all of them just because some of them weren't like named specifically. They were just pictures of them, but I did find four. And so me and Marcella drove to those this weekend, and it was on Saturday, so there's no one was in the leasing office. We couldn't go in there and talk to any of the managers.
Mm-hmm.
But for some of the properties, I'm not really sure if it would have worked anyways, because they would have known right away that we probably didn't want to live there, just because the properties were in pretty bad condition.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so we went to four of those. One of them was beautiful. So that was one property that we definitely could have posed as tenants, but it was the gates were locked. We couldn't get in. And one of those gates that was like one of those arms that would go up for each individual person, so you couldn't
Yep.
sneak in behind.
Yep.
But it was a gorgeous property, so that made me very confident in our property management company's ability to reposition a property and maintain it.
Did they reposition that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
But two of the other properties were in pretty bad shape. One of them was actually a condominium, and so essentially what we did is we just kind of drove around and took as many notes as possible about the condition, because that was our main focus was, number one, to see what the condition of the property was, and number two, see if we could notice any sort of renovations that were occurring.
Yep.
That way afterwards we can go back to the management company and, number one, ask some questions on if a property is not maintained well, why. And then number two, if we did find a property that you could tell that they're in the middle of renovations, which they were on one of them, we could get an idea of how long it would take for them to complete those renovations. So I say, hey, I know this is a foreign unit property. How long have you been working on these renovations for, and when do you plan on being finished? That way I can gauge how long it would take for them to do it on a property that we buy.
Yep.
So after the trip, I would say I was concerned because of one of the properties was like really bad.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there was windows, boarded up windows. There was construction paint on some of the exteriors, and it looked like it was just in the middle of being. It looked like they were renovating it and then they just stopped.
Okay.